Again, when I took over a sales agency where sales reps were king, right, and they made 50% of the margin, is you've got a lot of selfish salespeople who say, this is me, and if I left here, this company would go out of business today, right? They're holding the keys to the kingdom. And I have 4 sales reps making over $200,000 a year working part-time, right? Managing a big old fat install base, and it literally, they've turned into the house cats, right? And they didn't know it, right? So it took a while to say, listen, this transaction business is not going to be around, right? We need to move to a services business. So as we evolved and brought on more and more resources to provide more value, right? So as we took away everything that Xerox does, right? So now we do our own deliveries, we do our own IT work, we do our own firmware upgrades, we do our own break fix, we do everything, and that costs money. And that's part of what the XL Office Service is offering to our customers is high value, high touch, and it's not the sales guy. So I think as we made that evolution from selling to more services, it's really all the people in the background, the back office, and those people that are cashing the check. And the salespeople now get that the only way that we're going to have a sustainable, future-proof business is to provide more value to our customers, and it's anything that touches the customers, that customer experience, and we want to own it, right? We don't outsource anything, we do everything ourselves. And we have best-in-breed IT, service, delivery, logistics, everything about what we do is world-class. And salespeople know world-class isn't free. So now that that's in our culture and people know when change is coming, they're open to it.
Very good. So this is funny because I was just, we're going to complete the acquisition of our parents' company on the 31st of this month. And so that was called WPS, Word Processing Services. And so everybody has known us as that for 45 years. And we started doing better business when we acquired the company in Pittsburgh. And we didn't actually start running with that name until 18 months ago. So we're in the middle of the name change. We also did 2 other acquisitions this year. We closed an office, we moved an office, and we opened a new office. And we did massive, we got some of the RICO MIF, and so we had to get all of our Sharp technicians RICO trained in some of those areas. So we did a massive training this summer. And all of this, like really in like a 3-month period, has all that stuff happened. So putting together an email out blast and a letter out to the customers, basically about obviously that this is it, the name is finally changing. I mean, it's not my first communication, but so I'm listing all of these things that we've done this year and saying, wow, thank you for your patience. And I'm thanking my staff because our Net Promoter Score right now for this year time period is 94.2. And it was very crazy. I got an email from somebody that had some old information in it from 2011. And our Net Promoter Score back then was 87 point something. And it really kind of hit home to me that the culture with our staff, to get through all of those things in that little time period and still come out with those kind of survey responses. And we get a lot. I mean, like I said, I'm in the SDG, and we're pretty much number 1 or 2 as the company that gets the highest percentage of survey response from our customers. And so that was pretty amazing. And that's all my staff. That's all that, and that's because of the core values and the culture that we have. And so that just really, that showed me the importance of really driving culture, because it's real simple. Happy employees, happy customers. And I constantly say that at work. You got happy, I'm going to get a lot more negative responses.
Sounds like you're in the storm right now.
Coming. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel here. Next month, I feel like it should be a heck of a lot better.
So, this kind of started maybe 5 years ago in August. I was a little disillusioned with our current industry on where we were at. I'm going to call it the race to zero. So we had, our service rates were 008, then 007, 006, and to me it's like, okay, who's the first one to get to 0.0? And I was done being in that business. I did not want to be the winner of that race. And then what I noticed is we could see the convergence, or at least at that time I finally became aware of the convergence in our marketplace where you'd have the office equipment dealer, you'd have the phone guy, you'd have the IT guy, the document storage guy, and it was easy to see that this was going to be converged into one power seller, because this is really what the clients want. I mean, how often did we go to an office and they had printer problems and we blame it on the IT guy, and then the IT guy would blame it on the printer guy, and then that guy would blame it on the phone guy, and just this constant finger pointing that clients didn't want. They really want the convergence. They want that one throat to choke to make sure things get done. So we set forth, and I gave a meeting August 2012, I remember it, and we called Crossing the Rubicon. There was no going back. We were no longer a copier company. We are now going to be a technology company, and then we started to get into these other services. We got into 3D, we got into some managed network services, and that is I can tell you that the hardest person to convince that we were a technology company was not the customer. It was actually our staff. They're the ones that really prevented us from going forward quicker. And it was a really, really hard struggle over the last 5 years to get there. But once we actually started doing the culture piece and started doing more transparency, this has been a whole lot easier. So I wish I would have started that at the same time we started that we're going to change our image and who we are. But it took us a couple of years to get to that point. But once that culture piece kicked in, the rest of it just took off.
Very good. So we've talked about utilizing outside resources to help with the culture. Even though we know culture needs to be driven from the top down and the inside out, it does take a continued focus on how you're going to maintain that and continue to improve. And sometimes that can't all be done just by your leadership group or your employees. So share with us how you've utilized, Brett, you talked about Continuum. How have you utilized outside resources to help you?
You know, just while you brought up Continuum, man, talk about a company that really wants to help you grow your business. You know, if you ever have a chance to go to Navigate, is by far the best conference I've ever been to, where they genuinely just want to help you grow your business and not just have you, sell their product. But bigger picture than that, we retained Gazing Performance Group to come into our office. We retained them for a year, and they've given us a tool set to put structure and process in place. Really, I'm a 2.5-year-old company, right? And we've had explosive growth, and we need to make sure that we have repeatable processes. So Gazing Performance gave us literally a tool set that we plug things in, and it's fact-based driven of structure, skill set, mindset for whether it's the billing, the warehouse guy, or a salesperson, of all these tools that we fill out with points of success of, just all the parts and pieces that make that work. Because you can't just say, well, why aren't people selling managed network services? Is it a training issue? Is it a structure issue? Or does the rep just can't wrap their brain around it? It's really helped us. Mitch Morgan, as you know, a big fan. I mean, I don't know how you navigate managed network services without a guide to bring you through it. Managed network services is a massive investment, and you don't want to, it's cheaper to hire a consultant than it is to try to figure it out on your own. His advice has just been critical for our success. So partners like Continuum, Gazing Performance, certainly Xerox, has given us the technology tool set and structure and process to repeatably grow this business.
Very good. Debbie, you talked about Rockefeller habits. Sure. How many people are familiar with Rockefeller habits? Okay, I wasn't either, but okay, we've got one. And then traction is another one that comes up quite often. Good.
Yeah, we started down the path with Rockefeller habits. That was how we started the entire culture thing, and then a lot of people that are in SDG are using traction, and so we've kind of blended the two together. But really, as far as outside, I mean, we've had Mitch Morgan in before. We also participated with the SL Gamut groups with Paul Dipple. But really, GreatAmerica, and I'm sorry because you said don't shamelessly plug you, but when we first started working with GreatAmerica, and I think the first time we ever came out to Cedar Rapids, we were just blown away by the culture that they had there. I mean, we couldn't stop talking about it. We were like, we want our company to be like GreatAmerica. And so really, we've brought Sally Browsey in several times to help us with all types of different topics, but with our management team and with our staff. And I can't say enough about how great GreatAmerica really is, and it's a really good company to try to emulate, and that's really, they've been so helpful with us.
Thank you. And I did say, this isn't about Great America, but.
Sorry, but that, you
Yeah,
really
thank you very much.
have, been a huge help for us.
Thank you.
Well, I guess unfortunately I have nothing to add because they're just doing the exact same things that we're doing. I would shamelessly plug Great America as well, that helped us create an outstanding interview process, not only just for culture, but the entire interview process is so much, it's high class. It's really, really good. It helps you get good people. But mentioning traction, I would certainly recommend that if you're only going to read one book for the rest of your life ever again, I would get Traction by Gina Wickman. I think it's a game changer. There's some things that you're already going to know, some things that remind you, but the way they put together how to manage your company, I think it's just an awesome, awesome book, and it certainly helps put the culture piece in as well. So highly, highly recommend Traction.
Share with us a little bit, though, how does it help you manage your
Well,
strategies and your...
It will put together just the entire process on first off, how to help identify the culture that you want to have in your company, how to reinforce it, and then how to manage against it. It really gives you the blueprint and roadmap on how to go forward with that. So that's required reading for all of my executive management team. We follow the book to the T, and then I've actually asked my departmental managers each to manage their department as well as to Traction. So I just can't speak enough about that book. I think it's excellent.
All right, let's move forward. Let's talk about what's next. What do you guys see on the horizon, and what are you doing to embrace the evolution that's going on in the marketplace? Let's start with you.
So, when I say fantasy, Brett, I see seat-based billing being a game changer. I see, if I can include seat-based billing into the technology soup that we're going to offer, right? So it's unified communication, $30 per user. It's managed IT, $120 a user. It's print, it's coffee, it's water, it's car washes, right? Add up the stack, and that's what your cost per user is. And I think for us, right, we want to go on offense, right? In Los Angeles, it's $1 billion market, best I can tell what I can see. To be able, and if I go up against a copier company, I can give away print for free, right? I can discount that $27, or maybe I'm up against an IT person and I can squeeze the balloon animal some way to give the optics that I'm financially competitive. Another fantasy Brett thing is monthly contracts, right? That the reason I shouldn't lock into a customer is because it's on a 60-month lease. I think we should provide such mad value to the customer that there's no way they're going to fire us, and then I'm going to really be able to move the needle on market share. So I can keep the customers that I have on whatever term that I have, but to go gain net new market share and provide mad value to the customer, what's the risk to the customer, right? That's what I need to do. I need to grow this business and own the market share. I mean, that's my future vision of where I think I'd like to go if it's possible.
Very good.
So I'm so funny that for a long time I was drinking the Kool-Aid of one throat to choke, and I have gone completely away from that. Most of my market is small town, and when you are in a small town, you really need to have relationships with multiple vendors. So I have relationships with multiple vendors. My customers don't want that one vendor. They want reciprocity. I can't say it this morning, but they want to be able to have enough businesses that we're going to do business with them. So they don't want to close that door by just going with one mega vendor. And it really is coming back into that local, which is all the more reason why we're opening more offices in more local cities. So I've been forming strategic alliances with local vendors, and we've been marketing that as the best in breed services. And we become more of an advisor to our customers than actually providing all the services for them. And so I see that continuing, and I see that as adding value, because the services that we do provide, we provide the best service on. And we're also making sure that we're vetting the other partners that we're recommending to them, so that carries. I've gone completely away from originally where we were driving the business. I just blew that up last year and said, this isn't working. And now all those other companies are now again buying from me where they weren't, because I was a competitor. So it's really helped us a lot.
Debbie's organization definitely has a customer-first mentality, and that is just bred throughout the organization. service is top line and taking care of the customers. That's very impressive.
So obviously our pendulum swung the other way, you know, and I've been on that side as well. And we just had some bad experiences maybe with vendors that we were partnered with, and they just didn't do a great job with us. And I think we've been burned so many times that we decided to go this other route with the convergence. And I, you know, we're putting all our eggs in that basket, and there's no turning back. Certainly, we know that deeper is cheaper. We could add not one net new client, and if we just expanded our services that we already offer, we could 6 times the size of the company. I mean, that's not an exaggeration. It'd be 6 times the size, adding no net new customers. So that's where we're going, at least with our long-term strategy. From a short-term strategy for culture, I think we have a very good platform built, and we're just going to kind of keep writing out what we have in place. We're going to visit Zappos here locally to help maybe get some more ideas on how to, because Zappos is one of the king on the culture piece. So we're going to visit them to see if we can get some better ideas. We're creating a culture booklet that is kind of a selling booklet that we give to potential staff members. So we're really identifying our culture piece more. We also provide to our employees, we didn't talk about this, but part of the thing that helps us out with culture is we give everyone something called VTO, or volunteer time off. So we pay everyone inside the company of 3 days to take time off and volunteer for an organization. And that's been very, very powerful. We have people who've never done that before, and when they come back, they'll say, wow, that's really cool. Our goal last year was 100 hours. Our goal this year is to give 300 hours back to the community. And now we want to create a separate web page that just says AIS Gives Back, and just talk about what we're doing to give back to the community. So pretty much we're going to write out what we got going, because I think we have a good platform. We'll add a few more little things, some tweaks, but I think we're in a good spot.
Yeah, good. How many people in the room have had the opportunity to visit and tour Zappos here in Las Vegas? It's funny, okay, good, because as I'm talking to customers, this comes up more than once. They must have an incredible culture there, and I think I need to check that out myself next time I'm in the area. So, interesting. So when you think about evolving technologies, right, and what's coming down the pipe, neither Debbie or Gary mentioned 3D printing. And I found it interesting as I was, so Debbie was on a panel for me at ITEX a couple of years ago, and 3D was a hot topic then, right? And it was kind of fun because I had been to her office for a customer open house, and she had the 3D printer running, but she had a little mini Debbie sitting beside the 3D printer, and I took a copy or took a picture of that and included it in the presentation. But as I was at Gary's office the day before yesterday, very interesting. He's still selling the 3D printers, and maybe you want to talk about that a little bit, but he too had the little statue of Gary. I just thought it was kind of cute.
Yeah, so that was our first venture into becoming a technology company. Probably wasn't the best venture to
You're
to
still
start
doing
out
it
in,
though, right?
but we're
So they
still
might
in
be,
it.
yeah.
I think we're probably one of the more successful copier companies that have got into 3D. We've sold, it's a little under 80 of the large units, so that's not the small ones, but we're talking the $50,000 to $80,000 units. So it's a pretty good piece. But we're still not making money. The issue with 3D is there's no one that's figured out the way to get this to a recurring revenue standpoint, right? And that's kind of the way we go forward. Next time, before we bring something on board, how do we get recurring revenue on it? Because if not, then we're not going to do it. But we're in the 3D. We do have quite a few under our belt. And when I look at the profit and loss and I see a loss every year, how do I justify that and sleep at night? Well, to me, it's the Trojan horse, because it certainly allows us to have a conversation with anybody. And as you know, if you can start a conversation, you can develop a relationship, and maybe one of the other offerings that we have would get in the door. For example, Zappos here. Zappos wouldn't give us the time of day, ever, wouldn't even talk to us. We took on 3D. They have now sent 2 buses of people to our showroom to see the 3D equipment, because it's something they can use to prototype shoes. So it's a big thing. Same thing with DreamWorks. DreamWorks in the past, they wouldn't take a call from us. They didn't know who we are. Didn't care who we are. But we got inside DreamWorks with 3D equipment, and now we have a relationship. Now, we haven't penetrated any of those yet with other services, but we have a start. So I think as a Trojan horse, I can equate negative dollar signs to a Trojan horse to help us have that conversation, as well as it really does a lot for our internal staff on making them feel good about we're a technology company. It has a little bit of goodwill feeling to it. And at some point, I do know that the 3D market will be big. I mean, there's no doubt where this is going.